A woman is at home when she hears someone knocking at her door. She goes to the door, opens it, and sees a man standing there. He asks the lady, "Do you have a vagina?" She slams the door in disgust. The next morning, she hears a knock at the door. It's the same man, and he asks the same question to the woman. "Do you have a vagina?" She slams the door again. Later that night, when her husband gets home, she tells him what has happened for the last 2 days. The husband tells his wife in a loving and concerned voice, "Honey, I am taking an off tomorrow so as to be home, just in case this guy shows up again." The next morning, they hear a knock at the door, and both ran for the door. The husband whispers to the wife, "Honey, I'm going to hide behind the door and listen, and if it is the same guy, I want you to answer yes to the question because I want to see where he's going with this." She nods yes to her husband and opens the door. Sure enough, the same fellow is standing there. He asks, "Do you have a vagina?" "Yes, I do," says the lady. The man replies, "Good. Would you mind telling your husband to leave my wife's alone and start using yours?" A soldier ran up to a nun. Out of breath, he asked, "Please, may I hide under your skirt? I'll explain later." The nun agreed. A moment later, 2 military police ran up and asked, "Sister, have you seen a soldier?" The nun replied, "He went that way." After the MPs ran off, the soldier crawled out from under her skirt and said, "I can't thank you enough, sister. You see, I don't want to go to Syria." The nun said, "I understand completely." The soldier added, "I hope I'm not rude, but you have a great pair of legs." The nun replied, "If you had looked a little higher, you would have seen a great pair of balls. I don't want to go to Syria either." A soldier serving overseas far from home was annoyed and upset when his girl wrote to break off their engagement and ask for her photograph back. He went out and collected from his friends all the unwanted photographs of women that he could find, bundled them all together, and sent them back with a note saying, "I regret that I cannot remember which one you are. Please keep your photo and return the others." A 15-year-old Amish boy and his father were in a mall. They were amazed by almost everything they saw, but especially by 2 shiny silver walls that could move apart and then slide back together again. The boy asked, "What is this, father?" The father, never having seen an elevator, responded, "Son, I have never seen anything like this in my life. I don't know what it is." While the boy and his father were watching with amazement, a fat old lady in a wheelchair moved up to the moving walls and pressed a button. The walls opened, and the lady rolled between them into a small room. The walls closed, and the boy and his father watched the small numbers above the walls light up sequentially. They continued to watch until it reached the last number, and then the numbers began to light in the reverse order. Finally, the walls opened up again, and a gorgeous 24-year-old blonde stepped out. The father, not taking his eyes off the young woman, said quietly to his son, "Go get your mother." A man in Scotland calls his son in London the day before Christmas Eve and says, "I hate to ruin your day, but I have to tell you that your mother and I are divorcing. 45 years of misery is enough." "Dad, what are you talking about?" the son screams. "We can't stand the sight of each other any longer," the father says. "We're sick of each other and I'm sick of talking about this, so you call your sister in Leeds and tell her." Frantically, the son calls his sister, who explodes on the phone. "Like hell, they're getting divorced," she shouts. "I'll take care of this." She calls Scotland immediately and screams at her father, "You are not getting divorced. Don't do a single thing until I get there. I'm calling my brother back, and we'll both be there tomorrow. Until then, don't do a thing, do you hear me?" and hangs up. The old man hangs up his phone and turns to his wife. "Sorted. They're coming for Christmas, and they're paying their own way." Bill has worked in a pickle factory for several years. One day he confesses to his wife that he has a terrible urge to stick his penis into the pickle slicer. His wife suggests that he see a therapist to talk about it, but Bill vows to overcome this rash desire on his own. A few weeks later, Bill returns home, absolutely ashen. His wife asks, "What's wrong, Bill?" "Do you remember how I told you about my tremendous urge to put my penis into the pickle slicer?" His wife gasps, "My God, Bill, what happened?" "I got fired!" "No, Bill, I mean, what happened with the pickle slicer?" "Oh, she got fired too." A man comes home to find his wife of 10 years packing her bags. "Where are you going?" asked the surprised husband. To Las Vegas. I found out that there are men that will pay me $500 cash to do what I do for you for free. The man pondered that thought for a moment, and then began packing his bags. What do you think you are doing? She asked. I'm going to Las Vegas with you. I want to see how you're going to live on $1,000 a year. A bus full of nuns falls off a cliff, and they all die. They arrive at the gates of heaven and meet St. Peter. St. Peter says to them, Sisters, welcome to heaven. In a moment I will let you all through the pearly gates, but before I may do that, I must ask each of you a single question. Please form a single file line. And they do so. St. Peter turns to the first nun in the line and asks her, Sister, have you ever touched a penis? The sister responds, Well, there was this one time that I kinda sorta touched one with the tip of my pinky finger. St. Peter says, All right, sister, now dip the tip of your pinky finger in the holy water and you may be admitted. And she did so. St. Peter now turns to the second nun and says, Sister, have you ever touched a penis? Well, there was this one time that I held one for a moment. All right, sister, now just wash your hands in the holy water, and you may be admitted, and she does so. Now at this, there is a noise, a jostling in the line. It seems that one nun is trying to cut in front of another. St. Peter sees this and asks the nun, Sister Susan, what is this? There is no rush. Sister Susan responds, Well, if I'm going to have to gargle this stuff, I'd rather do it before Sister Mary sticks her ass in it. A nice, calm, and respectable lady went into the pharmacy, right up to the pharmacist, looked straight into his eyes, and said, I would like to buy some cyanide. The pharmacist asked, Why in the world do you need cyanide? The lady replied, I need it to poison my husband. The pharmacist's eyes got big and he exclaimed, Lord have mercy, I can't give you cyanide to kill your husband. That's against the law. I'll lose my license. They'll throw both of us in jail. All kinds of bad things will happen. Absolutely not. You cannot have any cyanide. The lady reached into her purse and pulled out a picture of her husband in bed with the pharmacist's wife. The pharmacist looked at the picture and replied, Well now, that's different. You didn't tell me you had a prescription. After a beer festival in London, all the brewery presidents decided to go out for a beer. Corona's president sits down and says, Senor, I would like the world's best beer, a Corona. The bartender takes a bottle from the shelf and gives it to him. Then Budweiser's president says, I'd like the best beer in the world. Give me the king of beers, a Budweiser. The bartender gives him one. Coors' president says, I'd like the best beer in the world. The only one made with Rocky Mountain spring water. Give me a Coors. He gets it. The guy from Guinness sits down and says, Give me a Coke. The other brewery presidents look over at him and ask, Why aren't you drinking a Guinness? And the Guinness president replies, Well, if you guys aren't drinking beer, neither will I.